This is where the fun begins.
Hello there.
What's going on, guys? Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Obi Wan Kenobi and a theory about Reva of her overall survival. So, without further ado, we're going to hop right on into quick disclaimers, real quick. This is not my own theory. We're going to be taking a read here from the direct article. I'm going to have that full article linked down in the description down below, as always. And number two, of course, obviously spoilers ahead. Obi Wan Kenobi is getting closer to wrapping up on Disney Plus, very unfortunately. Episode 5 of the series was recently released, continuing the story of Ian McGregor's Jedi Master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and his task of getting Princess Leia back home to Alderaan. However, his mission hasn't been very easy thus far, as he and Leia have been trailed closely by Moses and Graham's Reva and Hayden Christensen's Darth Vader. The article goes on to say, Part 5 of the series not only set up the final episode, but also answered many questions that were established earlier on in the show, even paying off elements from the very first scene. It picked up right off from where Episode 4 left off, with Obi-Wan, Leia, Tala, and Roken on their way back to Jabin after their rescue mission on Fortress Inquisitorus. At the same time, Darth Vader summoned Reva to the Star Destroyer, where they discussed the tracker she had placed on Leia's droid, Lola. In the scene, Vader also rewarded Reva with her actions and named her Grand Inquisitor, as a title she has been pursuing for over the span of the entirety of the series, and probably even before the overall series. Vader then ordered the captain of the Star Destroyer to set a course to Jabin, and from there they would finally go ahead to capture Obi-Wan Kenobi once and for all. Potentially, hopefully, maybe, not really. On Jabin, Obi-Wan knew that they were a little time before the Empire had arrived, and his main mission was to help Tala, Roken, and Roken get the people on the base away safely. But Reva arrived before their transports were ready, and the door would actually open, being locked down all the systems on the base, trapping them inside. This year's kind of like a little bit of a recap, essentially, of Episode 5. As the article goes on to continue to say, after the siege on the base had really begun, one of the biggest twists of the entirety of the series had unfolded. This year is really the overall Reva backstory and her overall motives being revealed as well, which is something that made me like her character 10 times more. Yes, I'm one of those people that liked Reva the entire time. I definitely knew that she had some type of an interesting backstory to be told her, and that her motives would also be interesting. However, I didn't think that they would make this type of twist here in Episode 5 of Obi Wan Kenobi to make her motives all this more interesting, of how she wanted sweet revenge on Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader. And furthermore, even at that, how she goes out pretty much all this way, dedicating her entirety of her life now at this point in time to get all the way up to this position of the Grand Inquisitor to go ahead and take Darth Vader out. Now, the article goes on to continue here to say Reva's backstory and her motivation, of course, revealed here. While the Empire attempted to break through the main security wall that led into the base in Episode 5, Obi-Wan requested to negotiate with Reva. After she accepted, he began talking to her about Vader, specifically about how she knew he was Anakin Skywalker. Obi-Wan had been speculating that she was a youngling at the Jedi Temple during Order 66, and that Reva was clearly affected by Obi-Wan's words, something that we kind of had all been theorizing the entirety of this time, that she was that youngling during the Order 66 flashbacks from Episode 1 even. A flashback sequence then took place featuring Anakin Skywalker at the temple, directly confronting Reva and the other children from the first scene of the show. From there, the article goes on to continue to say Obi-Wan then figured out her true motives for rising up all these ranks of the Inquisitors, which was just to kill Vader simply, because of what she did to her and her friends all those years ago when they were training to be Jedi. Obi-Wan had pleaded with her to help him confront Vader, and Reva then questioned why he wasn't there at the Jedi Temple to help her and the other younglings, of course, something I think a lot of people are honestly asking. And for that reasoning, he was off busy avoiding Order 66 and also fighting General Grievous. Being overwhelmed with rage and sadness, Reva used her lightsaber to, of course, cut through the door that was protecting everyone inside the base. Obi-Wan, Tala, Roken all tried to lead everyone further into the base as quickly as possible and away to the transports, but Reva was able to break through, and Tala was then forced to, of course, sacrifice herself, yes, very sad anyway, to buy time for everyone else and take out as many stormtroopers as possible. From there, there's a pretty cool duel between Reva and Darth Vader, as Darth Vader totally is showing her up and just like honestly showing off to all of us, which is of course very cool. And the article goes on to say, does Reva really die in her encounter with Vader? No, we kind of saw this at the end of the episode as she's kind of crawling away to this little transmission type of thing that Obi-Wan had been carrying around with him. This was of course in an effort to contact Bail Organa, giving him these like updates and that type of stuff, of course. Characters in Star Wars, of course, have a good track record when it comes to surviving what appears to be fatal encounters with lightsabers. Just recently, the Grand Inquisitor was just stabbed almost identically to how Reva was, and now he's back and perfectly good and fine. Darth Maul is also as one of the most famous survivors in the entirety of the series, as he was completely cut in half by Obi Wan in The Phantom Menace, and then returned later on in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, also seen in Star Wars Rebels, and then also seen in Star Wars Solo, of course, as well. When looking at the list of people who have survived a blow from a lightsaber, particularly dark side users, there's always one common denominator: their lust for revenge against the person that injured them. Darth Maul reveals that he used his hatred for Obi-Wan to craft a will so strong that he was able to live through his injuries long enough to repair himself and fully heal. At the end of episode 5, Obi-Wan Kenobi, when the Grand Inquisitor makes his appearance and his return, he talks to Reva about how revenge is kind of that will to live, especially with dark side users. In full quotes of what the Grand Inquisitor says to Reva: "Revenge does wonders for the will to live, don't you think?" Ending the quote there, this not only implies that he of course used a specific method to live through what he did to him, but he also foreshadows of what she will do, and that her return will be cut from the same cloth, of course. Reva is a character that has survived the same unspeakable tragedies. In those flashback sequences, we see that Anakin Skywalker had actually sliced her down. Kind of. It was kind of what I'm guessing. That's what it looked like, at least. And from there, the article says she has had to fight for her entire life, and after knowing her full backstory, she has one of those most tragic arcs in the entirety franchise, as the article says. I wouldn't go necessarily that far, but yes, it is very tragic, to be completely honest and fair. After all the fear that she felt during the events of Order 66 and the horror of watching her friends being killed by someone that thought that would help them, she inevitably developed a deep hatred for Darth Vader. This feeling was her main motivation to pull herself up and join the Inquisitors show so she could ultimately take out Vader when she had the chance. Now that she had been wronged by Vader for the second time in her life, she is also humiliated by him, knowing that she was the one of the younglings at the temple. Her rage and want for against him will be greater than ever. Essentially, that she's going to come back for Darth Vader once again, probably in the finale is my guess, but maybe even a potential season 2 of Obi Wan Kenobi, as the article goes on to even bring that up later on. I definitely think that she's going to be using some of that hatred and revenge, of course, for her will to live against Darth Vader and also the real Grand Inquisitor here, but I also feel like that she's going to be using that hatred against like Obi-Wan as well, and I kind of feel bad for her. Like, she's just kind of like hating on everyone around her. The reason that she would hate on Obi-Wan, of course, is that Obi-Wan kind of like left her hanging there for, honestly, like for a second there. Like, they didn't really seem to have talked it through all that much, but I'm guessing that she was thinking that he was going to hang around actually on the base to help her defeat Darth Vader. So maybe she feels betrayed in that sense as well. Now, the article goes on to say this episode didn't explicitly state whether or not she would survive, but I think it's very clear in my own thoughts and opinions, but it is safe to assume that she will be seen again. That being said, what will this character's future look like in Star Wars? Reva's ultimate role in the finale of Obi Wan Kenobi, as Obi-Wan and the rest of the people were leaving Jabin, Obi-Wan's comlink that he would use to talk to Bail Organa was dropped and left. The last message that Bail Organa had sent Obi-Wan featured him talking about Luke Skywalker and revealed that he is with Owen on Tatooine. In episode 1, Reva actually had an encounter with Owen in the street, so she definitely remembers who he is and knows that he is housing someone important. It's also impossible for her to know how important Luke really is. She only knows that Obi-Wan is trying to protect a child from Darth Vader. He doesn't actually know that Luke Skywalker, or maybe even that Leia, is the children of Darth Vader. Due to her experience during Order 66, she probably thinks that they are just talking about Force-sensitive children that are trying to keep off of Vader's radar, which, well, yeah, they're correct on that too. The final shot of episode 5 features Luke laying in his bed on Tatooine. This uses that Reva will somehow venture there in search of Luke Skywalker, but her intentions are very unclear. She obviously has a deep hatred for Vader, so it is possible that she will want to do anything she can to not get him what he wants. If this is true, then she may run or turn completely away from the dark side and do something to help keep Luke's identity safe. This is something that had been kind of rumored around as well at that, and theorized in other theories, is that she of course would evidently turn back to the light side at the end of the day and maybe sacrifice herself. Whether or not that's in season 1 or later on is kind of the difference between the season 1 just having it as a limited series and a season 2, but that's something I want to talk about in a little bit of a different video. But the article goes on to say that means that she would be siding with Obi-Wan, who she also kind of like deeply hates, as I had also explained that. She also kind of just has like that pre-hate for Obi-Wan as well, him just being a Jedi in general. On the other hand, Reva may try to prove her worth to Vader by bringing him Luke. If she somehow learns that he is Vader's son, she may may think that she can do all the right for her wrongs by bringing him to Vader. Since she hates both Obi-Wan and Vader, she definitely has a difficult decision to make here. Ultimately, fans know that Luke doesn't actually get captured and brought to Vader because of what happens in the original trilogy, and if she does end up going to Tatooine, Obi-Wan will be forced to confront her once again and possibly even unalive her there if she goes too far from there. Now, I want to take a minute here and decompress here on everything that we're reading here. My only problem with this overall theory here, and the overall character of Reva even at that, and all the different characters even at that we're dealing with here, is that there isn't any risk. There isn't any really stakes all that much. Vader and Leia and Luke and Obi-Wan, they all have plot armor because they all appear in A New Hope in the original trilogy, which takes place after the events of the Obi Wan Kenobi show. Nobody really here can die or anything like that, but what they could do is maybe somebody gets captured, maybe Leia gets captured again, and this makes room for more stories to be told, whether it's in comics and books or a season 2. This overall theory also doesn't really mean a whole lot of Reva finding out that Luke Skywalker is Vader's son, and even if she did, it wouldn't really go all that far, because the way that Vader finds out that Luke is a thing and that's his son is from a comic that Boba Fett is the one that ventures off and finds out that his name or his last name is Skywalker, and he tells this to Darth Vader, and Vader of course quickly realizes that, hey, this is probably my son right here. Although it is also said that Skywalker is fairly a common name out there in the Star Wars galaxy and the Star Wars universe, which is kind of cool actually, I'll be honest, but maybe that kind of leads to more room of having more evidence for Vader to be supplied to him that this is really Luke Skywalker and that Luke Skywalker is his son, if that makes any sense. Also, at the end of the day, with the finale here, especially the give and take here, if Reva really doesn't die here in the end of the finale for season 1 here, it kind of guarantees and gives us more media with Obi-Wan Kenobi, especially during this time frame, whether or not that would be a season 2, or as I also mentioned, a comic book or comic book series, or just a normal book series as well, like novels, is kind of something to be thrown up in the air as well. And this all stands from the point of view that Reva doesn't appear anywhere else in any other Star Wars media or content, such as any books or comics or even Star Wars Rebels, so she simply kind of has to die. From there, the article goes on to talk a little bit about a season 2. This is something that's being more and more talked about. I recently just came up with a video talking about season 2 and how the director of the show, Deborah Chow, was also talking about a potential season 2 here for Obi-Wan Kenobi, how that would pan out and how that would look like and how that would work. And of course, we already know that Hayden Christensen had been talking about a season 2, and Ian McGregor had been talking about a season 2 here for Obi-Wan Kenobi, what they would think about it, and of course how they would be so very on board for doing something like this. I'm of course going to continue to talk about a potential season 2 here for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show until it's announced or not announced at that, so I'm going to continue to update you guys with that type of stuff here, so it's all the more reason to hit the subscribe button and notification bell to be notified when new videos are coming out. And should I also mention that we cover all types of other Star Wars news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel, so if you guys are into that stuff, it's all the more reason to hit the subscribe button. Anyway, back to the director's article here. Recently, a report surfaced that stated season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi is currently in the works at Disney and Lucasfilm. This is due to the high volume of viewers that have tuned in to the show each and every week, and that the company feels like there are more stories to tell about Obi-Wan and the rise of the Empire during this time period between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and there very well is. During the events of the Kenobi show here right now and A New Hope, there's another decade, so you're looking at another good 9-10 years there until the events of A New Hope, so there's so many other stories to be told here, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in my most recent video before this video, so go check that out as well. Now, the article goes on to say, many fans have speculated that Reva would be killed by Vader or the Grand Inquisitor at the end of the series due to her absence in Star Wars media, such as Star Wars Rebels or other comics or books. However, if the rumors of season 2 are coming true, that she would definitely play some type of role without breaking the canon in season 2. There's a good chance that she will make some sort of appearance in the finale, just given her updated on her status and whatever her fate will be, more likely confirmed if there were to actually be another installment here, meaning that we're going to get a more clearer direction. Honestly, I think I disagree with this article, to be completely fair with you guys and honest with you guys and transparent with you guys. I definitely think that they're yes, Reva's definitely alive. They're not trying to hide anything from us. I think that's what the article's trying to get at, that they're trying to hide something from us. I disagree with that. They're not trying to hide anything from us, honestly, in my own thoughts and opinions. I definitely think that Reva is alive, and that Disney and Lucasfilm are trying to show this through their storytelling of her crawling over to the little comlink here that Obi-Wan accidentally leaves behind for Bail Organa and opens it up. And it creates more stakes, of course, as the article kind of also mentions, for the characters of Luke Skywalker or Obi-Wan or Leia or even Darth Vader, but that's just not completely true either, because they all have plot armor of appearing in A New Hope. It's a very weird and complex theory, to be completely fair with you, nonetheless with you. I want to know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, though. If we see Reva die by the end of the finale, this probably won't mean any Season 2 for Obi-Wan Kenobi, or at least including Reva in a Season 2. And if she doesn't, well, yeah, that's kind of like your official confirmation there for a Season 2, or at least more comics and books to be involved and revolve here around this time period of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I'd absolutely love to hear what you guys all think. Drop a like in the video if you enjoy, as it goes up to the channel, and check out our official Star Wars for more Star Wars content, guys. Thanks so much for watching today's video. As always, may the Force be with you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.